Hi, and welcome to the S.H.E Gallery Call-In Show. I'll be your host today, Diane Pasola. We have a very special show for you today, both informative and culturally relevant. Today, our guest is Daisy Dominguez, attorney at law, specializing in immigration rights. Before we talk to Daisy, I would like to direct you to our website, S.H.E Gallery. It's sharinghisenergygallery.net. Now, any links to Daisy's direct site or anything we talk about today, you could find the links there. I also want to remind you that this is a call-in show, so we encourage callers to call in. The number you could see below your screen is 312-738-1060. And although Daisy and I are both bilingual, we will try to answer your questions in Spanish if you have them. So I'm going to go ahead and let Daisy take it away. Daisy, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure. So my name is Daisy Dominguez, and like Diane had mentioned, I do practice primarily in immigration matters. I actually started my practice through a program called the Chicago Bar Foundation Justice Entrepreneurs Project, where many young attorneys establish their own private practice to focus on low and moderate income communities and make legal fees more affordable to provide legal access to low and moderate income communities that many times are left without legal representation.
Okay, and how did you get into immigration law? Like, what inspired you when you decided to go into law school? Was it always immigration law that you wanted to do?
Well, I tried a variety of different things. I always knew since I was very young that I wanted to be an attorney, and that was always my focus and my plans. And as I started to explore different things in law school, I started to kind of see what I liked, what I didn't, tried labor law, tried housing work, criminal defense, and then ultimately ended up with immigration. I felt like there was a big need to have Latino immigration attorneys that understood our needs. Mm-hmm. And shared similar experiences. My parents immigrated from here, from Mexico, and so many of my family members also did the same. And so I saw them growing up, going through the process, and I definitely wanted to focus on something where I was serving my community in particular.
That's great, Daisy. And, surrounding immigrants, we see a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes on the internet, and just by our news and by our president. What are some common misconceptions that we could kind of clear the air before we start talking about immigration?
Yeah, definitely. So some common misconceptions are that they're criminals, that they're violating our laws, that they're taking our jobs, that it's bad for the economy. And so other misconceptions in terms of refugees is that they're terrorists, that they're a threat to our nation, and things like that are very negative and wrong things to be saying, and definitely not what our community is about.
Okay, and there's also this misconception that immigrants don't pay taxes. Can you clear that up really quick?
Definitely. Immigrants do pay taxes. They do pay their taxes with the ITIN number. And so that's definitely a big lie.
So just to be clear, just because you have a fake Social Security does not mean that you're not paying taxes. They are taking money out there, ladies and gentlemen. So being in the field, I'm sure people are curious. I'm sure your office has been ringing off the hook since the new legislation took into effect. But what are some paths for citizenship or legal permanent residency, or maybe what might be the difference between the two for people who are curious?
Sure. Mm-hmm. So the first step is to become a legal permanent resident. You can't automatically become a citizen. There are certain circumstances where you can if your parents are citizens and you're a minor, but those are case-specific situations. But typically people become first legal permanent residents, and the most common way to become a legal permanent resident is through a family petition. So it would be either your parents, your spouse, your child when he or she turns 21, or your brothers and sisters could petition for you. After that family member has petitioned for legal permanent residency, then after being a legal permanent resident for typically 5 years, you can then apply for citizenship. But there are requirements for citizenship, such as physical presence, good moral character, and different things that you are required to do to become a citizen. When you apply through marriage and become a legal permanent resident, you can can, if you are still in the marriage, apply for citizenship after 3 years, so it's a much shorter process as well. There are certain petitions that are self-petitioning where you don't need a family member to petition for legal permanent residency, so such as the U visa or VAWA, you first obtain that visa, and then that visa allows you path towards obtaining a legal permanent residency and citizenship as well, or refugees or asylum applications. So other very specific petitions can be self-petitioning that you don't need a sponsor.
Now, can people get dual citizenship? I know there's concerns of if I become a U.S. citizen, am I relinquishing my citizenship to my home country? Does the U.S. allow you to carry dual citizenship?
You are allowed to carry dual citizenship.
Okay.
I mean, my parents have dual citizenship,
Okay.
but when you first become a citizen, you're relinquishing that. Then you can move forward with obtaining dual citizenship.
Okay. Okay, and then is there a benefit that citizens have that legal permanent residents don't? What is the main difference?
So if you are a legal permanent resident, we always encourage you that once you get close to the 5 years, if there are no negative things in your record, to apply for citizenship. If it's a matter of not knowing English or knowing how to take the test, then we encourage you to start studying in advance, because if you're a legal permanent resident, you can always lose your legal permanent residency. A judge can revoke your legal permanent residency.
We do have a caller. Caller, go ahead.
The question is, when can you get a Social Security number?
You get that during the process of you applying. So, well, first a disclaimer, we can't, I'm not providing legal advice here. Everything I'm providing is general information. So you obtain your Social Security card during your process. So, for example, if you are applying through marriage for legal permanent residency, and you apply for the employment authorization card to work, you get that authorization card to work. You can then take that to the Social Security office and obtain a Social Security number.
Caller, thank you. Okay, and then so we're kind of shifting a little bit to some of the recent anxiety based on the law that has been put into effect, and over the past several weeks there's been a lot of raids, and I would want to refer to it as mass deportation. So let's talk about rights for a little bit.
Sure.
What should undocumented residents do if ICE officials come to their door?
So if ICE officials come to their door, make a habit that never answer the door, or tell your children never open the door to anyone without first asking who it is. Make sure you know who it is. If they say they're an agent, what type of agent? Are you the police? Are you ICE? Who is it?
Do they have documentation, is there a badge or something that they need to watch out for?
Yeah, they should carry identification, and let you know who they are. And then when they've identified themselves, and ask them who it is they're looking for, or what purpose is it that they're coming to your door. And then depending on what they say, if they say they have an order for an arrest of a person, ask to see that order. But have this conversation behind the door. Never at any point open the door. If it's ICE, if you open the door, you're giving them authorization to enter, regardless of whether they have the right or a warrant or not. And so ask them if they have a warrant, and if they say they do, you need to verify that it's the right warrant. So I'm going to show you guys 2 examples of what they could show you and what it is that what an actual warrant is. So the warrant signed by a judge, it looks like this. So that's what they're supposed to show you. It's supposed to be a warrant signed by a federal judge. If you don't see something like this, or a signature from a judge, that is not the warrant that would be authorizing them to enter. But if they demonstrate this to you, then yes, they have authorization to enter. You can ask them to slip it under the door, put it against the wall, but if you open it to get it, they can enter the home the minute you've opened the door.
And it'll be like this, like several pages?
Yes, it's several pages.
And then here's where the signature might be?
Yes.
And should it say their name at the top?
Yes, it should have these captions of the court, which court it is, and the signature, if there's an attachment.
And what would be, why would ICE right now, are they only targeting people with criminal records or?
Before I answer that question,
Okay.
can I show the
Sure,
one that's not
absolutely.
supposed to be? So many times ICE will have
Just move it down a little bit. Okay.
have another form, and it'll look something like this. If this is their own warrant, this is not a valid warrant. So if they show you this, they don't have authorization to enter your home. So be very careful to determine which warrant it is.
Okay, so just one more time. So this one, no good, okay?
Right.
And then this one?
This one is the one that it should be the proper one.
Okay, should we go back to us?
Yes.
Okay. So when do they, at what point do ICE officials come? Like if I'm undocumented but I've been following the rules, should I expect ICE at my door? Is it only, criminals, or can my job call ICE on me? Are they just targeting all undocumented people, or is there red flags?
Well, there used to be, prior to Trump's orders, there used to be a list of priorities that was very limited.
Okay.
But now with the recent orders, it seems like everyone can be at risk. Everyone seems to be a priority. And so they are targeting people who have been convicted of any crime, who are charged with any crime, who may have committed acts that could be chargeable of any criminal offense, engaged in fraud or provided false information, had final orders of removal. And so it really seems crimes can include driving without a license, entry without inspection, using a fake social. So right now it's kind of an open net where anyone at this point seems to be at risk because of the recent order that
So it's
Trump,
not just these like highly dangerous, like criminals.
right, and with the
It's,
recent raids, we did see that there were many individuals who had never even committed a crime and were being picked up and detained, and they have been here for many years, have children, and have been law-abiding citizens.
That is really sad. And, I work at a school, so my students are really concerned with DACA. What does this mean for DACA? Can you explain what DACA is?
Yes.
For
So
people who don't know?
DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it gives young kids an opportunity to be able to obtain a work permit, protection against deportation, a social security. So if you've entered under the age of 16 and were here from 2007 continuously and can show your physical presence and a couple of other requirements, such as obtaining a high school diploma, a GED, currently enrolled, or something similar, you may be able to qualify for DACA. Now, right now, DACA hasn't been something that any orders have been passed that can affect DACA. We're a little uncertain on whether something will happen with DACA or not. That's kind of up in the air at the moment.
I heard estimates, and this might be wrong, about maybe 200,000 students are in the DACA program.
Yes,
does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
And then there have been many studies showing what the benefits of DACA is in terms of our economy, growing our economy, and how well the DACA recipients have been doing with this petition. And so, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. So I actually work at a high school I'm representing today. It says unapologetically supporting undocumented students. I am at Benito Juarez High School in Pilsen. And, we are in the heart of Pilsen, so naturally we have a large Latino population, and we have a large undocumented population as well. We have supports within the school, so a lot of our students are receiving DACA, and it was very chilling, actually, after the election. I had students coming up to me, literally being like, I'm scared.
Yes.
I'm really scared, and they have all our information, and that's been a lot of the anxiety and what's going to happen.
Right. So they're still processing DACA applications. If you're up for renewal, they're still processing DACA applications. It hasn't been something that's impacted, but we don't know. It can be tomorrow, it can be at any point, or it cannot happen. We're a bit uncertain on what's going to actually happen, but it's still a process that is still ongoing.
And there are resources out there, so even within, like, let's say, for instance, my place of employment, like there are organizations. This migration is beautiful. This was an art exhibit by Fabiana Rodriguez, and it was called Migration is Beautiful. And one of the organizations at our school has taken this as their logo, and what that organization does, Monarcas, the Monarcas, which translates to the monarch in Spanish, is a representation of migration. And what that organization does at our school is raises money to support financial aid for undocumented students. And I'm not sure if the public is aware, but if you are undocumented and you want to go to college, unfortunately, undocumented students don't qualify for financial aid. And a lot of our undocumented students do want to go. There are supports, outside of the school, and what's really, sad is if our students are undocumented, that means that their parents and their family is undocumented as well. So, Juarez has served as like a hub for the community, and they have had information sessions. We have one coming up on February 18th. We have the former mayor of the F in Mexico City, Manuel Lopez Obrador. And he will be there at Juarez February 18th for an information session for just concerned parents, and it's open to the community. You could find that again through S.H.E Gallery's website. Again, that's sharinghisenergygallery.net. So if you want any links to anything I have said or Daisy has said, you could find that on S.H.E Gallery's website.
And I also provide a scholarship too as well for students who are in college. It's minimal, yes.
Okay.
And they don't have to be DACA recipients either. They can be DACA or not have DACA, and they can qualify. They're just minimal requirements that we have. I haven't released the date yet on when I'll be releasing the application.
Will that be on your website?
Yes,
okay,
it'll be on the.
So look out for that.
They can follow the Facebook page, and I'll post announcements on whenever
Daisy,
the scholarship is available. It's a small scholarship, but anything helps.
Anything helps. Absolutely. So who, I guess we might have answered this already, like who is the government targeting? What can I do to protect myself?
Yes. So another thing too to keep in mind is that if you are pulled over driving or in your home, you always have the right to remain silent. If the officers are asking you, where did you come from? How did you enter? What country are you from? You don't have to enter that information. That's information that immigration is trying to collect to be able to put on the charging documents when they charge you with a notice to appear for deportation. Those are certain things that they put on those notices. And so you don't need to answer any questions. You could say you have the right to remain silent, and you're enforcing your right to remain silent, and that you wish to speak to an attorney. You always have the power to be able to seek counsel. Immigration and the government will not pay for an immigration attorney, but you can either go through legal aid organizations or hire a private attorney to be able to represent you in those proceedings. Never sign any documents without speaking or consulting with an immigration attorney first. And then also try to have a safety plan in place for your family. Who can you contact? Where will the kids be left? Where are all your important documents, such as your birth certificates, passports, different things like that you can leave in a safe space for it to be accessible as a safety plan. So that's important to have those safety plans in place with your family so you're not caught off guard and are prepared when something like this can occur.
So make sure you're communicating that with your children, or if any people are watching the show and you know that your parents might be undocumented, please let them know about the safety plan.
And then, if you are detained, you can contact your consulate while detained, or ask the officers to contact your consulate. That helps, because many times if we can't find out where you are at the moment, we can contact the consulates, and they'll be able to provide us information if they've been contacted when you've been detained.
So for example, like the Mexican consulate isn't it close by here on Ashland?
Yes, it's on Ashland.
Okay. And then who has the right to ask you that? Like, can the cops ask you, your immigration status, or
so in
just like regular cops during a traffic stop, let's say?
Yeah, so in the city of Chicago, there is, we are a sanctuary city, but there are there are exceptions with our sanctuary city ordinance, and so we're trying to push to have more protections within the city of Chicago. So they can ask you your immigration status, but again, you have the right to remain silent and not provide that information.
And what if, Sorry, I missed that. Okay, so what if I'm undocumented, and I'm scared, I've already had students who are scared to, be at school. I had one of my DACA recipients say, I might drop out because I'm afraid they know all of my information. With that, I'm at the high school level, but if you're a parent and you're undocumented and your kids are in grammar school, like, do the teachers, are you safe within the school? Are you safe at the doctor's office? Like, are there any places where you cannot, where these people can talk about your status?
Right. Well, the mayor has been definitely very supportive of the immigrant community and is trying to do their best to be able to not cooperate with immigration officials. But right now, I know that there's currently two different bills being proposed that would offer more peace of mind to immigrants within the schools and churches and hospitals. So it seems like it can be a possibility, which is why there's two different bills being currently trying to be proposed right now to increase more protections and not allow these agencies to be in communication with immigration.
And does that all fall under Sanctuary City? Can you
Yes.
explain? Can you explain what Sanctuary City, what that means for people who aren't aware, or like have heard maybe Chicago's a sanctuary city, but they're not sure what that means?
So that means that the state, local agencies, counties will not be in collaboration or providing support to immigration and ICE officers. But that doesn't mean that immigration can't come to the cities and do raids and do it on their own. That just means we will not be cooperating with them and providing our resources or our police to help enforce these federal laws.
Okay. And if you're a citizen, what can you do to help the non-citizens in your community? If undocumented people, what can we do?
Well, right now is the time for those that are citizens to stand and protect the immigrant communities. Back in 2010 and 2011, a lot of immigrants came out of the shadows and did a lot of push and educated the communities about who we are and why we're here, and demystified many of the negative stereotypes. And so they were brave enough to do all of those things, and now we have to stand behind them. Now that we understand, many people are supporting the immigrant community. So one of the things we can do is donate to organizations like ACLU, NIJC, attend protests, sign petitions, contact your local state representatives. You can, different things like that, get engaged with your communities, work with your local communities, and try to figure out what are the different initiatives that they're pushing towards, such as, like, I know Oak Park has done, just recently passed a welcoming ordinance, where it's a much more protective ordinance than what the city of Chicago offers. So getting involved in those movements to create more protections for the immigrant communities right now is definitely goes a long way. Sharing information and facts, many of the sites on Facebook are posting know your rights information, sharing those flyers and informing people about facts, not myths and lies.
Yeah, that's really good, and especially in a city like Chicago, we're so large and there's so much activism in the city. It's really hard not to get involved, and we have so many opportunities to do so.
And get out and vote.
Yes, absolutely.
Get involved in voter registrations, get people voting and register to vote.
Overwhelmingly, Latinos and African Americans, we do not use our right to vote, and our people have fought so hard for that right, and for us not to do so is really a shame. So the vote is extremely, extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. It does start at the local level. I did want to touch quickly before the show ends on just the immigration ban and what that meant at the airports and what that means moving forward, just to wrap up a little bit.
Well, recently, last Thursday, the Ninth Circuit did upheld a very important decision where they did not side with Trump, and so a lot of the tourist visas and visas that were being revoked on that weekend were reinstated, and so currently that order is not into effect at the moment. There is a temporary injunction on that order, so that was definitely a big win on our end. There's been over 20 different judges that have sided with ACLU and many other organizations that were quick to file lawsuits, and will continue to fight many of his orders.
Okay, let's go ahead and continue to fight. Please stay tuned for next week. Again, if you need any information, please refer to our website. Once again, that's sharinghisenergygallery.net. I want to thank Daisy. Daisy, thank you so much for being on today's show. It was a pleasure. And also to find information for the event on Saturday, February 18th at Benito Juarez High School. Thank you very much.
Bye.